Hello everybody and welcome to the Shattered Seas update. Let's talk Civilization 7, where firstly I have some potentially bad news. The two major changes that they've been signalling for a few months now indeed will not be arriving until sometime in 2026. That is the one civ through the ages, the continuous civ model, as well as their hyped changes to legacy paths and victory conditions in this game. However, the good news is, we did hear a lot about the December patch update. Firaxis have teased three key areas of change for the last patch update for 2025. A strategic balance pass. Well, actually that one is continuing and ongoing. Secondly, a new map type called Shattered Seas, nicely following on from last month's patch update. And lastly, broader changes to maps and biomes. Things like coastline and the size and variance of biomes. And of course, the second part of that free to claim, so long as you claim it within a certain time period, DLC. New civs and a new leader. There's actually quite a lot to discuss. Let's start with the strategic balance pass. They teased 6 civilizations in particular. Egypt, Rome, the US, Buganda, Russia, and the Mughals. Now, Egypt is one of focus. In the last patch update it was buffed. Firaxis believe it's now far too strong, so they're bringing Egypt back down to earth a little bit, unfortunately, hitting it with a nerf hammer. Rome and Russia, though, both see slight buffs. Rome's changes were teased, its traditions have been reworked to offer more consistent benefits across time rather than basically just focusing on military. And Russia is slightly better at wonders through its serfdom civic, now providing a 10% boost. Speaking of wonders, here they also teased one of my favourite wonders from civs gone by, the Great Library, which will be an Antiquity Age civ, as you might expect. It'll boost science buildings across the Empire and house 3 of those codices, important, of course, for the science, victory, legacy pathway in that age. I'm sorry to interrupt myself here, but there's another 4X game, kind of like a blend with Crusader Kings. It's called Old World, you might have heard of it before. It's one of 15 games included in this year's charity fundraiser, The Jingle Jam. And if you'd like to support Jumbo's Jingle, I'm trying to raise £1,000 for charity, and we're now just over halfway there. You can do so. If you'd like to contribute, there's a link down below to my campaign. Any and all donations for charity would be greatly appreciated, but most of you choose to give £35 if you choose to give, and that's because you'll get the Jingle Jam Games collection if you do so. So, if you'd like to support charity this season, if you can, please check out my campaign down below. Maybe pick up the excellent value Jingle Jam Games collection while you're there. Anywho, let's get back to Civilization 7. As always, this is but a teaser for the main patch update. If Firaxis' normal schedule is anything to go by, these will be the big changes. They'll release the full patch notes probably tomorrow at the time of recording, and also likely roll out the patch update then too. They seem to have a thing for Tuesdays. Anyway, enough about days of the week, let's move on. Secondly, the big teased change, a new map type called Shattered Seas. And as the name might suggest, this is basically a Pangea map that they've taken a sledgehammer to and boshed out a whole load of holes inside the island. Every player gets their own starting landmass, which is quite cool. Distant lands will still feature, and it includes a lot of coastal connections. So those individual landmasses that you or I may start on are generally connected by at least somewhat accessible ocean in the form of shallow coastal tiles. Speaking of coastal tiles, let's move on to the last sort of main category of change for the patch update outside of that free DLC. It's maps and biomes. First up, a small change to maps, actually the smallest map of all, the minimap. Coastlines have been added to the minimap, so now you'll be able to see those coastlines at a glance. Very important, of course, particularly earlier in the game, if you're trying to navigate between land masses. The coastal tiles will be your savior, in most cases, for most units. Taking a step back and a step away from that tiny little minimap, and looking more broadly at the big picture, the actual map in the game, the biomes, will change. Firaxis have said that they'd like to break it up a little bit, make it a little bit less linear, and make those boundary lines far less obvious by making biomes more natural. So, the size and variance of biomes has increased. Another specific change to the map that they teased is that the influence of rainfall. Here, of course, I'm thinking large mountain ranges, right? Air, cool, condenses, drops rain down the other side. Geographers, you get the idea. This tends to promote water, like lakes or rivers or what have you, and Firaxis are trying to mimic that, trying to promote more interesting patterns and slightly more diverse patterns in the map, and I think that's a great move. Now let's move on to the last part of the video, which is clearly very deeply interconnected with last month's patch as well as this month's one. We've already received part 1 of the DLC. It would teach, right, the leader of the pirates alongside the very thematic Republic of Pirates and Tonga. This month, assumedly releasing just alongside the patch, probably on Tuesday the 9th, we have part 2. 2 new civilizations, the Ottomans and Iceland, as well as an additional leader. In the developer update, they share a little bit about this new leader, Sayyida al-Hura. Apologies for my likely terrible pronunciation. Apparently a governor of a city-state, independent of both the Spanish and Portuguese empires, and not all that afraid of befriending the pirates and trading with them, maybe leveraging some influence over them as well. So I can kind of see how all of this is connected. One clear Tides of Power pack, and obviously how the broader patches have tried to support that, right? You can see the new wonders that we've largely already experienced, perhaps, or we're going to experience, things like the Great Lighthouse, the Great Blue Hole, and the changes that we talked about today. The maps, the biomes, crucially, that Shattered Seas map type in particular, clearly goes really well with all of this, and now we can kind of see the full picture of how Tides of Power fits with everything else. Do not forget that this DLC, seemingly, is only free if you claim it up until January 5th, 2026. So at the time of recording, you have less than a month. In a way, it kind of works a bit like a login bonus. Log into Steam to download it at least, right? Firaxis are, of course, labeling it as a thank you. Thank you for supporting us during these difficult times. Here's some extra content. Either way, it's kind of a win, and I think that the package more broadly seems to fit really well in with Civilization 7. Now, as we discussed at the start of the video, Civilization 7 still has some big changes to work through, and some of those are going to mess with the very structure of the game. My hope, maybe yours too, is that they will be optional and fluid. I know, maybe I'm being a little bit optimistic, but of course we are expecting a one Civ through the ages mode, option, some kind of way to play like that next year, as well as those teased changes to legacy paths and the ultimate victory conditions in Civilization 7. Assuming the patch update drops tomorrow, I'll be likely back again with an update video with the actual patch notes. And I think, because it's Jingle Jam season, I'll probably live stream as well. So if you're around on patch day, I'd love to see you live. Anywho, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.